Hello, fourth grade readers and writers. Welcome back. So we're now in week 3 of our lessons, and we're on daily lesson 10 at ELA school, away from school. And just a reminder, I'm your virtual teacher, Mrs. Ewing. All right, let's get started. Let's remind ourselves of our guiding questions. The first guiding question says, what can we learn from the process of ratifying the 19th Amendment? How can stories inspire us to take action to contribute to a better world? How and why can we encourage and support others to contribute to a better world? So if you remember last week, and actually the last 2 weeks, we've really been building that background knowledge about ratifying the 19th Amendment. And we even last week started to talk more and grow some ideas about how ratifying the 19th Amendment led and motivated the United States in their response to other inequalities in the United States, right? Or other inequalities that were happening. And we even looked about how it affected our elections in 2020, where we had more women candidates than ever before. So this week, we're going to continue to grow those ideas. Our guiding questions they lead us down this path as we're thinking about and discussing these ideas. So let's gather our materials so we're ready. All right, materials we're going to need. We're going to need our text for this week, which is titled Women Who Fought for the Vote. We're going to need lesson 10. We're going to need our lesson 10 note catcher. All of those materials you can find in your ELA packet. And then you're going to need a sharpened pencil. Pause this video and go ahead and grab those materials. All right, now that we have our materials ready, let's get started. All right, let's look at our learning target for today. I can determine the main idea of a text and find supporting details. Now remember, the main idea of a text is the big idea that the author wants the reader to take away. Those supporting details are those, remember last week we talked about how they're the legs on that table that help support that main idea, which is kind of like our tabletop, right? So the supporting details give examples, they help explain this big idea that the author wants the reader to take away. So today we're going to do more work with this. So before we get started really thinking and talking about this, we first want to read our text. So as we move forward, we'll be rereading this text every day. Remember, on this video, you'll be able to hear me read the text aloud. So as the days progress, feel free to come back and hear me read the text again. All right, so go ahead and grab your text so you can read along with me. All right, great. My text is over here, and I'm going to start reading. First at the top, we have our title, Women Who Fought for the Vote. And then underneath, we have a picture. And I'm thinking this picture must be some of these women who fought for the vote. But let's look at this caption underneath the picture. It says Susan B. Anthony, Frances Willard, and the members of the International Council of Women. So I'm starting to think, yeah, maybe some of these women in this picture or pictured here were some of the women who fought for the vote. All right, let's start reading. In 1920, almost 100 years ago, American women voted for the very first time for president. Before then, no woman in the United States had the right to vote for president. Only men could vote. Women had been fighting to win the vote for almost 100 years. The famous leaders of this fight are listed below. Susan B. Anthony, 1820 to 1906. Susan B. Anthony is a famous leader in women's rights. Anthony discovered that few people in the government cared about women's problems. She realized it was because women could not vote. The people in government needed votes to get and keep their jobs. Since women did not vote, they did not matter. Anthony decided that women needed to win the right to vote. Only then would the government care about them. All right, let's go to the next page. Anthony later became the president of the National American Women's Suffrage Association, NAWSA. Fighters for suffrage were called suffragists. Suffrage is the right to vote. Alice Paul, 1885 to 1977. Alice Paul was the leader of the boldest group of suffragists. She did anything it took to win the vote. After becoming a suffragist, Paul first joined NAWSA. In 1913, she helped plan a huge suffrage parade. Paul was too bold for some in NAWSA. In 1914, she left NAWSA. She then started her own group, the National Women's Party, NWP. The NWP specialized in bold protest. For example, they camped out in front of the White House for 7 months. Paul and others were arrested for their White House protests. Their brave stand won many people to their side. In 1918, President Wilson put forward a new law. This law gave women the right to vote. The law passed in 1920. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, 1815 to 1902. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was an early fighter for women's rights. In 1848, she helped put together the first women's rights meeting. The meeting was held in Seneca Falls, New York. Around 240 men and women attended. They talked about the rights of women. 100 people signed a declaration similar to the Declaration of Independence. It was called the Declaration of Sentiments. It said that women should have the same rights as men. This important meeting began the long fight for women's suffrage. Lucy Stone, 1818 to 1893. Lucy Stone was an abolitionist and women's rights leader. An abolitionist is a person who wants to end slavery. She is best known for refusing to change her last name when she got married. Her husband was the abolitionist Henry Blackwell. Stone became a speaker for the American Anti-Slavery Society. In 1871, Stone and Blackwell started a feminist newspaper, the Women's Journal. Stone died in 1893. The paper ran until 1931. Ida B. Wells, 1862 to 1931. Ida B. Wells is best known as a fighter for African American rights. She also fought for women's rights. In 1913, Wells was preparing to join the suffrage parade held on the day Wilson became president. She was asked not to come. Some of the white women had refused to march alongside blacks. All right, last page. Wells joined the march anyway. She continued the fight for civil rights for all until her death in 1931. All right, readers, now that we've read our text for this week, let's go ahead and do some thinking. I want you to think about these 2 questions. What is this article about? And how would you summarize the article in 1 sentence? Go ahead and pause this video and think about this. Great. When I ask you to summarize this article in 1 sentence, what I'm really asking you to do is tell me, what is the main idea? What is the big idea the author wants the reader to take away? Hopefully you said something along the lines of, this article is about the women who fought for suffrage for all people, right? Or the women who fought for the 19th Amendment, or women who fought for the right to vote. All right, so let's do some talking. Remember, the main idea is the big idea that the author wants you to understand and take away from reading a text. A supporting detail is information from the text that supports, explains, defines, or proves the main idea. So I want you to talk about these things. How would you summarize the article in 1 sentence? Pause this video and talk about this now. All right, great. Now I want you to think about or talk about this next question. What evidence from the text supports your thinking? Pause the video and talk about what evidence from the text really supports that main idea that you just told me when you summarize the text in 1 sentence. Pause the video and talk about what evidence in the text supports your thinking. Great. Now, you told me some evidence in the text, right? You had a discussion with your family member, your caregiver, or your friend around what evidence in the text supports this. But now I want you to go in the text and I want you to tell me what explicit information in the text supports your thinking about the main idea. Now, when I ask you to find explicit information, I'm asking you to go in the text and tell me what exactly does the author say that supports the main idea that you just talked about. Pause this video and go find that explicit information in the text. Great, welcome back. This article is full of information about different women who fought for the right to vote. So there's lots of explicit information in there that supports this big idea or this main idea around these famous women who fought for all women to have the right to vote. All right, so let's now do a writing activity. Using the Lesson 10 note catcher, record your main idea. Then find 3 supporting details from the text and record them in the note catcher. Now, when you look at this the note catcher for today, you're going to notice the design is the same as what we've used the past 2 weeks when capturing that main idea. But that first box, instead of asking you to write the main idea, it says summarize the article in 1 sentence. Remember, this is another way for us to ask you to tell us what is the main idea of the text. All right, so in that first box, you're going to record what is the main idea of the text or summarize the text in 1 sentence. Then underneath, you're going to record at least 3 details that support your main idea. Pause the video and do your writing activity now. Great, welcome back. I'm glad that you took the time to do this writing activity because as we build on these ideas for days to come, you're going to be able to come back to this note catcher and refer back to it to help you really think about the main idea and supporting details in the text. All right, so in closing, I want you to share your writing with someone. Tell them why you chose to write what you did. Then after you complete the assignment, remember, read a book with a family member, a caregiver, or a friend for at least 20 minutes. Then you're going to do your fluency practice. So using a timer, and remember, it could be a cell phone timer, it could be a kitchen timer. You could ask somebody to count to 60 for you. Read the passage for 1 minute. Count the words you read and write the number at the top of your text. All right, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we dive back into this text and do a close reading activity. See you tomorrow.